a little, just the slightest bit of mucosal. That's all you get. You got nothing to worry about anymore. I'm feeling fantastic. We're doing React Chord, okay? React Chord is where we look at some of the most insane creative writing prompts that have ever been written, one of the finest fiction minds the world has ever known. And we check it out. Here's one, for example. Am I the asshole for missing my father-in-law's funeral after my mother-in-law booked my husband first class but me economy? That can't conceivably be a true story, but at the same time, I want to check it out. When you say great title, are you talking about my title, the Pistachio Disguisey of Twitch, or are you talking about the title of the Am I the Asshole post? I got really happy that you were complimenting me, and then I realized it's almost certainly the title of the Am I the Asshole post, but we can pretend. Hold on, let me hydrate. I know you guys, you love the water bottle. You missed the water bottle. It's back. That's what happens when you ride the Peloton in the morning. I got a liter of pure H2O left over. Only a slight bit of backwash in it, okay? This is React Chord real. Do not get it twisted. Am I the asshole for missing my father-in-law's funeral after my mother-in-law booked my husband first class but me economy? Me and my mother-in-law don't have a close relationship. Sorry, they don't have a close relationship. She's civil towards me but can be a bit passive-aggressive at times, and we tend to disagree oftentimes. Describes your relationship with, and I don't mean yours in OP, I mean this is everybody's relationship with about 99% of the human population. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not. It would be nice if you guys were closer, but it's not that big of a deal. We live in a different state. Father-in-law passed away suddenly. Mother-in-law told me and my husband to come attend the funeral. She booked our tickets to fly to her state. But the issue started when my husband told me we couldn't sit together in the plane because his mom had booked him a first-class ticket while I got economy. I was flabbergasted by this. I tried asking him why, but he urged me to suck it up and we'll talk about it later. In that moment, that particular moment, I felt so... In that... Why is it written like a musical? In that moment, that particular moment, I felt so much humiliation and contempt. I felt like she was treating me even less, as less than even in her hard times. I decided to not go and just go back home. My husband was shocked by my decision to go home and tried to convince me to go, but I declined. He went alone, and I ended up missing the funeral. He was livid, just calling M3. He was calling his car, texting nasty things, calling me petty and spoiled. He said I should be grateful his mom paid for my ticket to begin with, then said that she doesn't owe me a goddamn thing. I argued about how she could have just booked us both in economy if money's an issue, but he called me pathetic for thinking about it when his dad just died. He said it was cruel what I did and that his mom and family will never forget that I missed the funeral over ridiculous reasons. Am I the asshole for going home over this? You know what I realized? I've realized this a long time ago, but it's nice for this to be put into a more coalescible form, if that makes sense, okay? Some people don't see their life as a comedy. Some people take life very, very, very seriously. Now, I'm kind of a serious guy in some ways. I try to, I live my life according to a series of values, a code, if you will, Jonathan. At the Continental, you do not shoot anybody in the head at the Continental restaurant, Jonathan, or you'll be disbarred. We will confiscate all your gold pirate coins, Jonathan. But if this happened to me, hypothetically, I think I would instantly switch into Ben Stiller in Meet the Parents mode. I would feel like I'm in a early 2000s like romantic comedy. I think I would find it a little humorous if my wife's parents bought my wife a first class ticket and they bought me an economy ticket. I'll admit that it's not really fair because I have an outlet for absurdity. Like when something that might annoy other people happens to me in public, it's less annoying sometimes because I know I get to farm it for content on Twitch. But I think I would laugh at it both at the time and like also probably like 100 times as I told the story over and over again until people listening to me got sick of it. It would have been, it's almost like you gave me a gift. Rather than have a first class ticket, you gave me a story that I can tell for like hopefully the next 50 years or something like that. I also like, I don't know, people, so you got to consider your phrasing here, but people are really blowing up, if this is a true story, which is probably not, but people are really blowing up their families over like the slightest injustice, right? It's not that I get that you would be offended that your mother-in-law did this, but is it really worth blowing up like your relationship with your husband and your husband's family just because you feel disrespected? You're gonna get disrespected from time to time. I don't know if this is good advice, but like, there's some situations where you say, hey, knock that shit off, treat me better than that. And then there's some situations where you say, all right, I'm gonna eat that one up. That's just one, like, to be honest with you, you gotta tank that one. Assuming this is a real story, it's your husband's dad's funeral. You're on an airplane for, what's the longest flight between two states in the United States? JFK to Honolulu or something like that. What's that, like 6 hours? But in all likelihood, this is probably like a 3 hour flight. Suck it up for 3 hours. And then you laugh with your husband about how your mother in law treats you differently. Or, I mean, like, to be honest, and I'm being straight up with you. I know this, hero's not a word that we use lightly, okay? But if this happened to me, if my parents, which they wouldn't because they love my wife, but if my parents bought me a first class ticket and Kate an economy ticket, I would let her take the first class ticket. Even if I was grieving, I would let her take the first class ticket. So I do think that the husband could have nipped this one in the bud. His dad died though. So what, you grieving in first class versus grieving in economy? He's gonna be like bawling his eyes out. Is like, nothing could bring my dad back, but it would be really nice to have a chair that converts into a lie down bed. It's not that big of a deal. Like, you got bigger problems, right? If anything, if you're truly suffering, you might as well sit and coach because it's a proper environment for it, and let your wife, like, I can't really put myself in their shoes, okay? But I might be like, hey, my dad died. I'm just gonna, like, put my head up against the window and like try to take a nap or like close my eyes or something like that. Why don't you go in first class and have like a few mimosas? I'm not saying like you should party it up, but like, that's the right environment. I don't really feel like celebrating in first class with the creme de la creme of society here. Who knows? Plus, here's the thing: she could be doing some networking up there too. You're not in a position to network. I've always said your network is your net worth. So she could be schmoozing a little bit up there while you're a little out of commission. I'm just saying that's what I would do, okay? But really, all I'm trying to do is illustrate that there's like many different solutions that could have come along the way to prevent this from getting to the point where like you and your husband might get a divorce just because like you didn't want to sit in a slightly less comfortable chair. I get that it's not about the chair, but it is about the chair because you could have made it about the chair if you just sat down in the chair. You're actually annoyed because the mother-in-law is respecting you less than she respects her own son, which of course, like, you expect, if push came to shove, your parents would have your back and be in your corner instead of, the corner of your spouse. But, we all got to pretend that it's like, yeah, Kate's parents love me as much as they love their own daughter, of course. Like, no doubt about it. Anyway, but the point is, you don't have to let it get to that point to begin. Someone's got to tank. Someone's got to take the role of Ben Stiller in Meet the Parents that takes all the abuse and just puts a smile on their face and then lets it all out later and says, can you deal with that? Although, to be fair, Ben Stiller in Meet the Parents, most of the time, he's the good guy, but he does do some unredeemable stuff. For example, he loses Robert De Niro's prized cat and then gets another cat from the animal shelter and paints like a stripe on it so that it looks like the cat. And anyway, long story that's the big one. Jinxie. So yeah, I mean, it's no doubt that it's like an everyone sucks here. Like the mother-in-law should have bought them tickets both on the same level. But I also think that and whether that's two first class or two economy, they should be sitting together because it's the emotional support between them that's the most important part. But the wife here also sucks because she didn't have to throw like a nail bomb into her family over this. She could have just sat in coach and like watched a movie and eaten some pita chips or something like that, and then it's no big deal. You just eat it for a few hours and then do your job. No offense, but your job is to just be. It's not your family's funeral. You're supposed to be there and you're like emotional support. Okay, you're tanking and support, which doesn't seem fair, but it's not worth blowing up the whole squad. Okay. Anyway, this thread is now locked due to an excess of rule violations. This is a picture of my dog sleeping. Okay. That's fine. Read the edit. I read it. What do you want me to say? Like, this doesn't change anything. One of the reasons I didn't settle for the economy ticket is because I wanted to sit next to my husband and support him. He sobbed the whole ride to the airport, and I didn't want to leave his side. Okay, and the other reason is that I felt disrespected by I felt disrespected by my mother-in-law. And then the other reason is that economy's not as nice as first class. That is true as well. I didn't want to leave his side until he told me we couldn't sit together, at which point I left his side for the entire weekend rather than leave it for 3 hours entirely. Everybody sucks here. The seat issue is more important than supporting your husband after the death of his father. That is exactly the point. Obviously, mother-in-law is an asshole and her actions were uncalled for, but you made your husband go to his father's funeral without the support of his spouse, and you did this over a first-class seat. You may have caused irreparable damage to your marriage. I don't think that's false. I'm going to say no falsehoods detected. You're the asshole. Yes, it was very shitty. User received Reddit shooting star for this post, by the way. It was very shitty from your mother-in-law to book you in economy class while your husband was in first class. But you let a petty... I love the bold text, man. I love the BB code. But you let a petty quarrel with your mother-in-law prevent you from supporting your husband when he needed you the most. I won't say everybody sucks here. The husband doesn't suck. And the mother-in-law just lost her lifelong partner. Have to pay for plane tickets for two persons, and she wanted to pay a little treat to her son. I am giving her the benefit of the doubt that she did this to spoil her son, not to piss off her dill. I still think that makes her an asshole. I mean, not like as dyed in the wool, like every action she takes is an asshole, but like it's an asshole move. I don't think it's like when your spouse dies, I don't think you get like a 1 month long period where you're in like a mini purge where you can do whatever you want free of judgment. You consider the actions within the context of the emotional situation that the person's in, but maybe you should. This would be a lawless society, man. People are dying all the time. You're crazy. When you get a cold, you do? I couldn't commit crimes. I could just say some messed up and problematic stuff and then immediately do my impression of Colin Farrell from the Batman and say, I'm literally just a guy. What are you doing to me? Anyway. I mean, I agree with this. Point one to the mother-in-law. She will now forever be able to say she didn't even come to the funeral. Look how she didn't support my son in his time of need. And don't get me wrong, the mother-in-law is a complete asshole for this, but no one in the family will care about the plane seats. They'll just remember OP wasn't there. Okay, I mean, I agree with a lot of this, but this is actually how some people see their familial relationships, and that's very sad to me. You literally just had an unforced error to your mother-in-law. Your mother-in-law, she has an advantage over you. She's about to break your serve, okay? You had service, you got a single fault, and then an unforced error. You blundered your queen in the fifth set, not to mix metaphors. You gave your mother-in-law an end one in a tie game in the fourth quarter. Everybody sucks here. Your mother-in-law won. Well, it can get crazier, apparently. I apologize for getting stun-locked by the relatively sane comment. It was most likely her intention to cause a fight, and she won because you didn't go. Now she gets to bash you for not attending. You didn't support your hubs when he needed it. So now all the nasty things she whispers in his ear while he's there, he's going to agree, you. You were put in a losing situation either way. This whole thing sucks. Sorry this happened to you. Hey, you fucked up really bad. Sorry this happened to you. Would love to know your thoughts on this. Listen, can I say that, like, this is gonna cause some disagreement in chat. Everybody sucks here also includes the husband. He could have solved the issue the same way that the wife could have Ben Stiller'd it. The husband could have Ben Stiller'd it. Now I understand in context, he's grieving. Obviously. So he's A, not thinking straight, and B, emotionally vulnerable. That being said, at any moment he could have stepped in and said, "Can I get a downgrade? We'll trade seats. Like, I'm gonna text my mom and tell her, like, when we got the tickets, I'm gonna text my mom and tell her, like, that's not cool. Why don't you just put us both in economy and save your money instead?" Like, there's so many different opportunities for him to have completely. It's like listen, if you're walking and you're walking on the train tracks, you shouldn't be doing that to begin with. You definitely shouldn't go into the tunnel. He must have gotten an email that was like, "Hey, honey, here's your flights home." And then he looked at it and said, well, "I'm in seat 1A and she's in seat like 35J." And then emailed his mom and been like, "Hey, this is I understand what you're trying to do here, but like, I want to sit with my wife throughout the entirety of the flight, okay? So either get us 2 first-class tickets or you can downgrade mine and save your money and spend it on yourself because you're grieving as well." But I will, like, the core of this issue for me is so common on Am I the Asshole? Which is, I refuse to ever be even slightly disrespected. And not like, some of them are like, "My wife slightly disrespected me. What should I do?" And all the comments are like, it could literally be some shit like she ate my shredded cheese out of the bag in the fridge when I told her not to once, even though she was really hungry. Every one of the comments is like, "She doesn't respect you. Get a divorce before she does," which is crazy. But then some of them are like, "My wife's nephew said something to me at a family gathering and my wife didn't tell him to knock it off. What should we do?" And everybody's like, "Literally, you got to get out of this family. They're crazy." This shit happens all the time. Like, if your spouse is doing something disrespectful to you consistently and you tell them to knock it off and they keep doing it, that's one thing. But like, your spouse's relative doing something once that's like a mild slight and then blowing up your whole life over it is idiocy. This pride comes before the fall. There are no sane people on Reddit, though. That's true. That's fair enough. Let's see what else we got. I only want to see the asshole ones, but I can read the titles of the not the asshole ones. Am I the asshole for yelling at my husband when he ate some of my chocolate and making him drive across the city to replace it? I would say that I'm not surprised that that's not the asshole. Am I the asshole for calling out my husband's coworker's wife for trying to flush a maxi pad down the toilet? People are crazy about plumbing. This one's just, it seems petty, but people take the plumbing very seriously. You should have seen the way my mom reacted when I told her, I cleaned up some cat vomit with a single square of paper towel. And then I went to throw it in the garbage. And she said, "Don't throw it in the garbage. It'll smell." And I said, "Okay, I'll just flush it down the toilet." She looked at me like I just told her, like, I had 2 days to live. Flush it down the toilet? You can't flush paper towel down the toilet. It'll clog up the sewer system for the whole city. Millions of people's pipes are going to get clogged as a result of that. Have you no sympathy for the people in the... I was like, okay, fine, I'll throw it in the garbage then. I'll deal with the smell. My sense of smell hasn't been the same since I was like 15 for some reason. So I graduated high school, went to college, and then like a week later I was like, I can't smell anything? Can't smell anything at all? Anybody else in the same boat? Same? What's up with that? You know what I think it was? I think it was when I had my first beer, my body just took all the blood that was going to my nose and said, go to the liver instead. You know, we had a good run. Keep breathing, of course. But we need this material elsewhere. I can still smell food and like cat poop, which is helpful. That's about it though. Am I the asshole? My boyfriend found my clean period panties and made me feel crappy about it. Your boyfriend found clean underwear and made fun of you for it? Of course you're not the asshole. Okay, insanity. Am I the asshole for telling my sister to stop taking showers with her husband? Oh, okay, maybe not insanity. I thought this was, am I the asshole for telling my sister to stop taking showers with my husband in my house? Am I the asshole for telling my sister to stop taking showers with her husband in my house? What? This feels like a yes for sure. My sister and her husband moved in with us 2 days ago after they lost their apartment to medical debts for their child, my nephew. My husband and I are more than happy to have them stay for a few weeks till they get this resolved. Except, here we go. I'm ready. Yesterday at 7 p.m., I was in the kitchen when my husband rushed in and said that he saw both my sister and her husband walk out of the bathroom. They'd most likely taken a shower together. My husband said that it irked him, and I agreed what they did was somewhat inappropriate. He asked me to speak to my sister on the matter, and I did. She got defensive, asking how this is affecting me or my husband in any way. I told her it made my husband feel uncomfortable and would rather they just took their showers separately. She started ranting about being overwhelmed by their son's health problems and not having some alone time together as a married couple, and found this activity as a bonding time to spend together. I apologized for how she felt, but requested that she just do as asked. Hey, all that shit that you said makes a lot of sense. I get it, you're going through a hard time. You're a married couple. Who should care to begin with? At the same time, can you just do what you're told? As long as you're under my roof, I don't know if you're familiar with the My House, My Rules Act. It became law never, but we all somehow agree that that's the way that the system should be run. She got mad at me and said I was being inconsiderate. She didn't understand my husband's hang up on what she and her husband do. We started arguing and she stormed off to the guest room where my nephew and brother-in-law were. She's not speaking to me, but my husband said I did the right thing by speaking to her and setting this boundary. Am I the asshole? Some info. My husband did not mention hearing anything, just that he saw them get out of the bathroom, and yes, they were clothed. That doesn't mean... What does that have to do with anything? You could be clothed. I'm clothed when I go into the bathroom. I'm clothed when I come out of the bathroom. I'm naked when I'm in there. I don't understand. Like, what's the problem? This is just like irrelevant info. It's the only bathroom in the house. They spent approximately 10 plus in the shower, according to my husband. Approximately 10 plus minutes for two people to shower? Are they not aware that we're in drought level 4 conditions right now? I'm going to bring my husband to look at the responses and help me answer some questions down here, okay? Just give me a few minutes. I'm sorry I can't respond to every single comment, but my husband says he's uncomfortable and doesn't want to expand on the situation. This is madness. Even ignoring the mitigating scenarios of your sister and her husband being forced to live with you because they lost their apartment because their child is ill, Like, even if you, because which makes their situation that much more sympathetic. Even if you removed that, this is insane. I don't know if people are, listen, again, hero's not a word we use lightly. If I had a house with a guest room and I invited a married couple to stay with us for a night, for a weekend, for a couple days, if they have sexual intercourse with each other, that's kind of the cost of doing business. I don't understand what the. I'm not saying they have to, because that's like equally weird, but like they can if they want to. It's not like abnormal. I don't understand the problem. I'm not going to invite like a couple that's romantically linked into my house and be like, under no circumstances is that allowed. Because maybe because I'm like a normal human being. It's just weird. It's just strange to me. I will say the one thing that I'll say is them doing it in the only shower in the house. I wouldn't be that grossed out, but I could understand why someone would be. Because I'm like a rat. I wouldn't be into it, but I would be like, yeah, they fucked in the shower. Who cares? Like it's self-cleaning. It's like an oven. You know, the shower cleans itself every time you get in. But like if someone was like, if you just do that, can you clean the shower afterwards? I would be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I can understand why you would feel that way. They also might have just been showering together, which is true. But the point is that that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if they're showering together or they're in the shower together getting it on. I respect the fact that they're a couple. They can do whatever they want. I will say maybe, and this might make me a bit of a prude. That's about as far as it goes, though. The guest bed or the shower. If I like went out to run an errand and then like a second later I was like, ooh, actually I forgot my reusable bags, and I see that you're like bent over the kitchen island or something like that, I'd be like, that's disrespectful. I understand the appeal, I suppose. There's a bit of a thrill, but could you, while you're staying in my house, could you just do it in the bed or the shower? I walk around on the kitchen floor barefoot sometimes. I don't want to step in anything. I just like. That's all I'm asking for, okay? I think that's a reasonable standard. But like in the shower, who cares? I know there's going to be a lot of like moralizing in here that in the comments that's like they're going through an emotionally hard time right now. And that's true, but like it's also completely like irrelevant. Like you should just not care even if they were just like there for the weekend to play some board games or something like that. Why do you care? I think it's a plumbing issue. There's no way it's a plumbing issue. Like because then the husband would be like, it's a plumbing issue. Husbands love talking about that kind of stuff. It's a plumbing issue. You're wasting water somehow by taking a shower that's as long as one person's normal shower, but getting two people clean. I know the people are also going to be like, oh, your husband is jealous. He feels threatened because he's not getting what they have, and he feels slighted. Look, that might be true. But they also, for all I know, the husband and wife might be doing it all the time, and he might just be like kind of a freak that's like, no, I don't pay a mortgage so other people can fuck in my house. I pay a mortgage so that I can fuck in my house. So like, I don't think you can infer that the husband is like just not getting any and he's like upset by that. I think he's just the base case here is that he's just a weird guy. I just don't understand. Why do you care? Oh, here we go. Your husband came rushing in to tell you that your sister and her husband took a shower together. This is so dumb. You're the asshole. Get a life, bro. Leave them alone. They're stressed enough as it is. So true. But you had me until this edit that says obligatory wow. I didn't expect all the updoots and awards. Thanks. More importantly, I was a bit flippant in my original comment. So I want to use my newfound fame and glory, lol, to say something to everyone saying your house, your rules. What the heck is this? It's a viewer? Or they need to get a hotel. That's all fine and good. We're here to give our opinions on the situation. But can we remember, this couple just lost their home. They're in serious medical debt. They have a sick child. The likelihood of their marriage surviving the immense stress and hardship they're experiencing is statistically low. I'm not a marriage counselor. I think if they're going through a very stressful situation, they're staying in somebody else's house and they're fucking in the damn shower, they're doing fine. It seems like they've built an incredible bond. I don't think you need to say the likelihood of their marriage surviving is statistically low. Like, that's like serious source. I made it the hell up. It seems like they got dealt a bad hand, but they're actually like the bond between husband and wife is doing okay. Can we get some compassion for these people? Can you leave your personal hangups and give behind and give them some support? Can you find happiness they're making time and effort to spend together? What's really important here? Well, like, I agree, but I hate the way you said, thanks for the updates. Info. Unless they were loudly banging, why do you care? There's nothing weird or untowards by a couple showering together. My husband and I often shower together. 99% of the time, it's completely non-sexual. We find it to be a nice time to chat without fear of interruption from our kids. Dead ass, you're a freak. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard in my entire life. You're showering non-intimately with your spouse and just having a conversation in the shower? That seems... Look, it's not my life. It's cute, actually, but it sounds fucking weird to me, man. I can't do that. The shower is my time. I can't be in the shower talking about how was your day yesterday? Meanwhile, I'm like lathering up my sensitive regions and stuff like that. It's not like I'm doing anything that's not okay in there. I would just be... It's a me problem. I'd be very uncomfortable. Also, I don't want to be like... When I'm in the shower, like, I want the water. I work for a living. I pay my mortgage. I pay my taxes. When I'm in the shower, I want the water, okay? Again, I'm not saying this is... It's weird to me, but that it could be because maybe I'm weird. But I will say, if Kate was like, do you want to take a shower together and talk about our day? I'd be like, why don't you take a shower, and then when you get out, we can have like some tea and talk about our day or something like that. I don't want to talk about our day in the shower. It's just, I don't know, it just seems like they're two non-related activities. I don't know. It's just weird to me. It's just strange. You can do whatever you want. I'm not saying you're like, in my house, I don't care. If you were in my, I genuinely, I don't care in the slightest. If you're in my guest room and you're doing some stuff like this, it doesn't bother me at all. Just don't ask me to do it. Don't try to convert me into one of those non-sexual couples showering, having a casual conversation, holding hands and giving each other side hugs. Only spend 50% of the time when you're in the shower in the water. Come on. Makes me sick. You're the asshole. As long as the shower's clean when they're done, which it will be because it's self-cleaning, you shouldn't care. I was in the kitchen. Okay, yeah. This is a strange hang-up for him to have. Was he raised in an environment with unhealthy views about sex and intimacy? Well, yeah, this story takes place in the United States of America, so I'm going to guess that the answer is like probably yes, but we can't infer that from the amount of text in the original post. You're the asshole and so's your husband. Why is he so pressed about what a married couple does? What makes them taking a shower together inappropriate? I don't even like the phrasing of I don't like the word inappropriate here. It's not inappropriate for married adults to have sex. Especially, I mean, it's weird phrasing, but like, especially when they're like part of your family. Not like in the help me stepbrother I'm stuck sort of way, but like when you have your relatives and their spouses in your house, like it's mi casa y su casa. It's not inappropriate. It's as appropriate as almost anything could be. It's like the second most. It's the third most appropriate. It's the fourth most appropriate. The first most appropriate is your own house. Second is probably a hotel. Third is probably your car. Fourth is at your relative's house. But still, yeah, your car is more appropriate than your relative's house. Because it's your car, your rules. I'm not saying it's more convenient. I'm just saying on a scale of like, there's some we're not going to go down to the depths. There's some inappropriate places for sure. But the car is like no one would be like, am I the asshole for fucking in my car? People would be like, nah, dude, it's your car. Do whatever you want. As long as like it's private. There's at least a discussion here. If someone was like, am I the asshole for having sex with my husband in my sister's house? Some nut jobs would be like, yes, it's their house. The car would be 100% not the asshole. Unless, info, is it a BMW? Anyway. Or you're double parked. Their child is ill. Their child is so ill, they've lost their home to cover his treatment. And you freak out because they walked into the bathroom together? You're the asshole doesn't even come close. Edit. Thank you for all the upvotes and awards. Oh, man. Your husband is upset because your grown married sister might have been what? Showering together or showering together, BB code? Either way, that's kind of weird, especially if he felt the need to go tattle to you about it. Does he expect them not to sleep together too? Because he might be shocked by the things that happen in a bed. They're going through a rough time. They need a bit of time without you guys or the kid around. And unless there's enough rooms they don't have to bunk with the kid, that's not happening. Soft, you're the asshole for you. Your husband's the asshole for making a big deal out of this. 100%. I'm sorry for the frog voice, okay? I'm sorry for the frog voice. One moment, please. One moment. I got to mute as well. I almost didn't mute. Is that better? Chills. Chills. That's not Steve Gorgatron. It's my real voice. Yeah, okay, anyway. The seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake. Hold on. I did want to see this. Your house, your rules, and the bathroom is a communal space, so you're not wrong to set this boundary. However, I also do understand the need for privacy for a little intimacy, even if I've never experienced it myself, which I'm guessing they aren't getting while staying in your guest room. If you feel uncomfortable about them sharing a shower, maybe as a peace offering to your sister, you can ask if they'd like a few hours of alone time together and you can take your nephew out of the house to spend time with you. This will show your sister that you care about her feelings. We're also keeping your boundaries about the bathroom. Actually, you know what? This is stealth like a great point. Because she's asking how far you're willing to go for your principles. If the choice is let them go shower together, or all of a sudden I've got a babysitting job, enjoy your shower. I got stuff to... I'm not saying I wouldn't help out when it was appropriate. But I think I would get over my hang up very fast. And I would, if they were like, hey, can you look after Billy for a little bit so me and my husband can have some alone time? I would be like, enjoy your showers. From this point forward, enjoy your showers. One of the finest negotiating minds I've ever known. So that's why I think this comment is a little genius. Is because they're basically, they're King Solomoning it. In my opinion, at least. They're saying, and then if the husband is like, yes, and then the wife is like, no, then I don't know, they got to cut the shower in half or something. I don't know. I got to figure it out. Anyway, I think we're all pretty much on the same page on this one. I do hate how people say your house, your rules. 'Cause it doesn't excuse you for being like insane. Obviously, like you can set whatever rule you want in your house, but it doesn't make you like morally clean for it. Also, like obviously, it doesn't preclude you from following like the letter of the law, but like you can still be like a dickhead. Why don't you just own being a dickhead? It always has to be like, hey, I've got like an insane. It might be a little insane of me to have this clause for behavior in my house. Can you wash my hands of any moral culpability here? People got some complicated lives, man. Like, am I the asshole for canceling the family vacation because my husband gave our kids tickets to his widowed cousin's kids? Am I the asshole for canceling the family vacation because my husband gave our kids tickets to his widowed cousin's kids? You gotta listen, okay? Cicero has a great quote, a little hypocritical considering his net worth, according to the internet at least. Cicero said, all a man needs to be happy is a garden and a library, okay? Am I the asshole for canceling the family vacation because my husband gave our kids tickets to his widowed cousin's kids? Cicero, if you showed this post to Cicero, his head would explode. He would suffer a myocardial infarction and pass away on the spot. There's just too much stuff going on in the post. You got to simplify your life. Your life is a fraction, but you're not at the lowest common denominator right now. This is crazy. So my cousin, I'm the oldest of my cousins. Which you believe, but it's hard for me to believe because I had a November birthday, which means that in all of my classes, I was like the youngest or second youngest. But anyway, long story. Listen, this is not relevant. It's just my own hang up. I'm the oldest of my cousins, okay? We had the rest of my cousins all live in my hometown, 5-hour flight away. I live over here, coastal elite, passing out pearls of wisdom. Why don't you just drink some kombucha? Starbucks, that's cute. Is there a JJ Bean around here? Anyway, we had our kid end of September 2020. One of my cousins had her daughter middle of October 2020. So she's like 2 weeks younger than my daughter. Everyone in the family keeps trying to like organize this stuff to get them to meet. Oh, she's got to meet her second cousin. She's got to meet her dad's brother's kid's kid. We gotta get them out to like an event so we just gotta get a picture of them together. And finally, I just said to my mom, I was like, why? And then she thought about it for a second and she was like, you know what? It's kind of like fair enough. Like it's just because they're like me and my cousin are family, and we both had kids at roughly the same time. But those kids are not family unless they want to be. Like your cousin, for at least in my family, your cousin is about as far out as you go on the family tree. And my cousin's child is she's lumped in with my cousin as a unit, but as soon as that kid turns 18, they're a stranger to me. They just that's just some lady now. If the dominoes fell, something happened to my cousin and her husband and like all of their family, and somehow it was like, hey, can you take care of her? I would be like, of course, she's family. But otherwise, if she makes it to 18 and they're like, oh, Jennifer graduated from high school today, I would be like, who the fuck is Jennifer? As of today, I don't know her. She's literally she's just a person. She's an unrelated individual. I'm not getting on it. They never say, by the way, we're going to come out to Vancouver. They never said, you want to take a picture? How about you hop on a damn plane You come out here and you come to our house, we'll take a photo and then you can leave. It's always, you gotta come back so that we could take a photo. It's a double standard, man. Anyway, sorry. I'm mostly just joking. She's a very cute baby, okay? She's very cute. Am I the asshole for not helping a child when they fell over? I'm joking. Hold on, let's see. You might be, but it's still going to be funny either way. What the hell is this subreddit? r/hitmanimals? Revenge shot. Is this animals knocking over kids? r/hitmanimals? I do love America's Funniest Home Videos when like a dog knocks over a toddler. It's a great subreddit. Okay, all right. Well, just keep that in mind. Am I the asshole for not helping a child when they fell over? Today I was waiting for my girlfriend at our local park. I was waiting on a bench looking at ducks in the pond when a child right in front of me fell off of his scooter. He's probably 6. I laughed, not out loud. What? The child was crying, being dramatic, when its mother came rushing in to check if he's bleeding. He was not. He wasn't even scratched. The woman looked up to me, seeing me slightly grin, asking why I didn't help him. I responded, he isn't hurt, so why do I need to help him? She got pissy and said, if he was bleeding from his head, would you help? I said, no, probably not. She started having a go at me, acting like I should have helped a random dramatic child up from the floor when he wasn't even injured. I walked away, and from a distance, you could hear her yelling. I can't tell if I wasn't the asshole or I was, because he ain't my kid, he ain't my responsibility. Listen, the way you're writing the post makes you like an asshole. But like, you're not the asshole in the sense that like, there was no reason for you to help the kid. Like when my kid falls over at the playground, I don't expect any other parent to like pick them up. Even like their parents. Similarly, when I'm at the park with my kid and I see a kid fall down, I don't pick up the other kid. I'm like, your parents are here. It's just not my place. The only reason you're like kind of an asshole is because you keep, I mean, you're kind of like doubling down every single time someone's like, could you have a little empathy? You're like, no, I refuse. So it's weird because you're like, you're in the right to have not helped the kid. Which sounds like a bit of an asshole thing to say, but as long as their parents are there. Like if a 6-year-old kid's riding a scooter and then they brick it right in front of you and they're bleeding or something, and then you look around and their parents aren't there, sorry, you just inherited like a bad situation. If you're in that kid's line of sight, you got to help him. Because otherwise, he's going to be like, this guy didn't help me. And then the good people are going to get their pitchforks and their torches and stuff like that. But until I had a kid, I basically did not. I was just annoyed by children in public, for sure. I don't think this guy did anything wrong, except he was kind of a dickhead with the way he interacted with the mom. Like before we had our kid, if there was, sometimes kids in public would just like talk to you. They'll be like, oh, and you're like, oh yeah? And then you just like walk away. Now I'm like, whoa, Pog! What? Really? And they're like, yeah, look at my dinosaur. And I'm like, wow! What kind of dinosaur is that? And then they go, a Bubbasaurus. And I go, a Bubbasaurus? But I don't expect like someone without a kid to act like that. Like that. If you act like that and you don't have a child, you're like clinically insane. Or you have like a sibling that has a kid, or you're good with kids or whatever. But it takes time to learn how to interact with a child. You can't just be like, oh, I was one, I know how to do it. You forget about it, man. I just don't know why this guy, like, I have to say, I have to stick to my principles. He didn't do anything wrong. It seems like the mom, look, I'm not projecting, but I guess inferring. I feel like the mom was in an emotional state because her kid got hurt. And she said some stuff that crossed the line. Like, hey, stranger, why didn't you touch my child when they fell over? Which is, like, batshit crazy. And then he was probably like, why is this lady getting on my case? I didn't buy her kid the scooter. So he's just out trying to look, he's fishing for, like, an own. But he's not in the wrong in any aspect here. The only reason he's in the wrong is because the reason he would be the asshole is not for not helping the kid. It's for not, like, I don't know, fake apologizing or pretending to have some concern. Like, he is clearly very impressed with himself that he didn't help this kid and stuck to his guns despite someone asking why he couldn't have some empathy. But I don't think he's the asshole at all for not helping a kid when they fell over. If anything, he would be like more of an asshole if he didn't help an adult if they fell over. Like, if you're sitting on a park bench and like somebody crumbles to the ground in front of you and they're like 35, I think you have an obligation as a member of like the human race to be like, are you okay? Do you need me to call a doctor? Like, are you having a heart attack? But if it's a kid, that's like, you know, there's a caretaker. There at least there should be a caretaker around. Like, it's not that it's not your responsibility, so you get to like not do anything. It's that it's not your responsibility. You shouldn't do something. That's what the parents want to do it, and they don't want a stranger to do it, or at least they shouldn't. Anyway, I don't understand what he's saying. Yeah, what he says, I laughed but not out loud. But anyway. Although, to be honest, if someone was walking by me and they fell over, I would have real concern. I would perform CPR, whether they wanted it or not. But if someone was on one of those like uni-wheel electric scooters and they bricked it in front of me and slid like a meter on the sidewalk, I would probably just turn to the other direction and be like, it finally happened. I knew. I see you, these motherfuckers, every day riding those weird uni-wheels. They've always got full, like, motorcycle leathers on, but they got their hands in their pockets. I'm just waiting for the day when they're just going, and they hit a rock, and they're like, go! Can't be riding something like that with your hands in your pockets, man. I tell you, I'm sure I have, but I tell you one time I was just sitting on our patio, just minding my own business, and then one of those bikes that had a trailer on the back that like a toddler can sit in. It's like a covered little tent with wheels on it. So you can bike, but your kid is in the back being towed along. And they were riding, and then they signaled, and then they turned left, but they turned left way too fast, or way too sharply. So the trailer on the back jackknifed, and then the tent like slid along the road into the bike lane with the kid in it. Everybody was like, "Oh my God!" And then the dad was like really freaked out, but he just got out and like put the trailer up on its side, and then was like, "Are you okay?" And the kid was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." Anyway. Did you laugh? Once I knew the kid was okay, absolutely. Like the moment of it was like very scary. As soon as the kid was like, I'm fine, I was like, yeah, that shit's hilarious. The kid probably thought it was wicked. You're absolutely right. All right, I mean, we'll check out the comments. You wouldn't necessarily be an asshole for not helping, but you're the asshole for your whole attitude. I agree with a Redditor. It's true. You're the asshole for laughing at an injured kid and grinning at this spectacle. Who does that? Lots of people. You can still be a good person and harbor a dark passenger within your brain. Calm down, edgelord. You're the asshole. But, like, listen. He didn't do anything. Plus, you have a hexagonal avatar. He didn't do anything. You're the asshole. The bare minimum when you see anyone fall right in front of you is to ask, are you okay? Listen, it's not the bare minimum. The bare minimum is to do nothing. But, like, sure, he could have been nicer, but having niceness capacity above your actual behavior does not make you an asshole. You definitely shouldn't touch the child, but it would be nice to say, "Where's your grown up? Do you want me to get their attention?" This is not something that happens in the real world. This is why we can't have like an AI driven court system. No, dude, if my kid bricked it in front of somebody and they said, "Do you want me to get your grown up?" I would be like, "I'm right here." Going somewhere, Jarek? That being said, I would also be right there. Real voice reveal? Thought I was what, dead? Like my partner you just threw off the cliff? Yes, you're the asshole. Normal humans react when a child hurt themselves, get up and ask the kid if he's okay. I don't know if this is something that is actually like. I think parenting has actually put me on the side of the childless here in a weird way. Because I'm like, dude, my kid's 2. When a 6-year-old falls down in front of me, I'm like, get up and go to work. You're old. It's like, obviously, that's insane. 6-year-olds are in like what? Like kindergarten, maybe the first grade. But I'm hanging out with like a 2-year-old. I'm taking her to parks where she plays with like other 2-year-olds. They fall down. They don't know what to do, right? They fall down. They're like, what's going on? A kid was mean to me. You got to like, build the scaffolding of what the real world is like. When a 6-year-old falls over, I'm like, and like if you're hurt, sure. But like they at least have the I'm not saying they don't need to be supervised. I'm just saying like they have the faculties to be like, am I okay? Yes. Okay, I'm going to get on my scooter and go away. No, they don't. They're 6. I'm telling you, I think it's just because I have a 2-year-old. 6-year-olds look old to me. Like when I see a 6-year-old at the park, I'm like, oh shit, watch out. I don't want to get on that guy's bad side. Whoa, hold on. And I see other adults. I'm like, we're the same size. That's fine. I look at my kid, and then I look at like a kid that's in the 2nd grade. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Jumping Mary and Joseph, who brought the beefcake? This kid is like 8 feet tall. What the hell? This kid's wearing pants with a fly? What are you, like 100 years old? He said the thing. I just genuinely, you look, so much of my banter in the last 2 years is like, you guys wouldn't understand unless you like have a child. This one, I'm like, it's the first time I can extend an olive branch to the r/anti-natalist community. I don't think they did anything wrong. I think everyone else is being needlessly self-righteous. Also, like kids fall down like all the time. Like it's actually like the least big deal of all time. The first time my kid fell down, it was a nightmare. I was like, this is a disaster. She's probably going to have a concussion. We can't let her go to sleep tonight. She's going to have a permanent brain injury. After like 2 or 3 of them, they take some like grievous injuries. We were walking with our kid one day. She was like, I don't want to hold your hand. We said, okay, be careful. Immediately tripped on an uneven sidewalk tile. Splat, got up, like blood in her mouth. She didn't crack a tooth or anything like that, but she bit her lip like on the way down. Blood like sputtering out of her mouth, all over her shirt, all over my shirt. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Pulled out some tissues, dabbed it. I was like, are you okay? She's like, no. We walked like half a block. I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, Daddy, I want to walk. Like kids are built different, man. I bit my lip. This is true, by the way. I bit my lip eating a piece of pizza too fast on Tuesday. And it's not only not getting better, the wound is still getting worse. It's not bad, but the wound hasn't even peaked yet, much less started to regress. It's crazy. Like a kid falling down. you kind of have to know, like, you gotta, there's gradients of it. If a kid just is sort of like, they're on their scooter, they brick it a little bit, they're gonna be fine. If they hit their head on like the corner of a cobblestone or something like that, and they get up and they're all dazed and stuff like that, then you're like, okay, oh my God, are you okay? That looked terrible. If a kid just kind of like, crashes down onto the sidewalk and goes like, oof, oof is like little kid version of like, that wasn't a big deal at all. Like, and this is a secondhand story. A podcast I listened to, one of the podcasters has like a 5-year-old. The kids were running around on the playground. Two of them crashed into each other head on. The kid said, "Dad, I think I broke my leg." And the dad didn't believe him, which, by the way, I completely understand. I think people without kids would be like, how could you not believe your 5-year-old when they say something like that? As an adult with a toddler, I'm like, how does this kid know what a broken leg feels like? Anyway, so long story short, he did break his tibia, but I could completely understand the parent's position that was like, that at least is like, let's go home and put some ice on it and see if you feel better before we go to the ER. Anyway, moving on. I broke my arm as a kid. My mom didn't believe me at first. Well, I'm sure you don't want to believe it for one reason. One reason is like, kids are just wrong a lot of the time. And another reason is that it's going to like fuck up your whole life. Like, it's definitely going to fuck up your night to go to the ER, especially in the modern era. But then like, you're like, I don't want to believe that my kid's going to be in a cast for like the next 6 weeks. I'm going to have to like go back to giving them a bath like they're a little baby again. It's very inconvenient. As Al Gore said, it's an inconvenient truth. Am I the asshole for telling my husband he can go on a trip with his sister on his own if he wants to cancel our trip to join theirs? I apologize for the burp, by the way. My mistake. I apologize. Huh? This feels like yet another